Hello, everyone. Welcome to a brand new episode of Effortless. I am your host, Mr. Piddle. With me, Dr. Spiegel.
I didn't know you were actually going to do the radio voice, but now that you're doing it, I am full on board with it.
No, I'm not going to do the radio voice.
Okay, good.
Welcome,
I didn't want
everyone,
to do that the whole
to a
time.
brand new episode. This is going to be the best one yet.
Surprise, surprise.
Yep. Every week, we just get better and better and better. Unlike our old shows, you know what? We haven't actually had any of our listeners say that the old days were better yet. So
Yeah,
that's good, right?
Yeah, which is funny because that's basically what our whole show is based on. So you think our listeners would like catch on to that and be like, hey, man, your third episode was way better. Although, for what it's worth, we got more views back in those days. But now we have more subscribers. We got like 60 fake subscribers last week. I'm super happy about it.
I think we have another great clickbait title for this week's episode.
Oh, this week's episode is going to be a doozy. You know how like we always like, oh, everything sucks. Well, this week we're going to talk about Star Fox and how much it sucks, and then we're going to talk about the NX and how much its strategy sucks.
Yeah. So we are working through our 52 games in 52 weeks, trying to clear that backlog and play new games as well. And Star Fox Zero is a new game from Nintendo. I played a couple
new
of
Nintendo game.
I played a couple other games. I played Super Punch-Out. I played Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. We're going to talk about those next week, though.
And I'm going to rip you a new one for playing a Ubisoft game next week. The only game I played and beat was Metroid Prime. So that game's great, by the way. Go play it. I actually I played and beat it twice because I
so
played
that
it.
counts twice.
No, it doesn't count twice.
That's two replays just knocked right out.
I don't think so. I played it like back to back. Like I beat the game and I started a new one immediately. I just did it so I could see if I could beat my record. And by the way, I did beat my record.
Well, you can give it 2 reviews then too.
Yeah. Well, here's my first review. The game is amazing. Here's my second review. The game is freaking amazing. It gets better every time. And also, my new record for beating Metroid Prime is 4 hours and 32 minutes. And I know it's not like a speedrun type record or anything, but that's pretty good. 100%ed everything. I know where everything is. I know that game like the back of my hand now. I'm really excited to play it in front of you, Piddle, and just show you my dominance.
Yeah, I'm excited for that too. And we're gonna play a bunch of other games soon too.
Yeah,
together.
We're gonna play a lot of games next week. I'm on vacation. I'm in Piddle's neighborhood. We're gonna be hanging out. We're gonna be doing a show. Hopefully, it's gonna be good stuff.
Yeah, it's gonna be
gonna go to a baseball game.
But back to Star Fox Zero.
Is this a good time to announce our new sports show?
No, we're not gonna do that yet.
Okay, not yet.
Yeah, I got Star Fox Zero, and I played it, and I beat it. I put about 10 hours into it now, and yeah.
Let loose. What do you think of Star Fox Zero?
Well, it's been a very controversial title.
So controversial, in fact, that I was hyped for the game, and within 1 week, I went from extremely hyped to extremely negative, and I canceled my pre-order. I didn't actually get the game.
And what did I do during that time where you were getting very negative about the game?
You went the other way, and you were like, it's Platinum and Nintendo. How bad could it be? Blah, blah, blah. And
I was like, it's from Platinum Games. Nintendo is publishing it, and has a lot of input on it. It was delayed. I figured, like, those
delays are almost always good.
Yeah, I figured those 3 things combined, like Nintendo game, a Platinum Games game, and then it was delayed to make sure it was up to snuff. I figured those 3 things would make this a great Star Fox game. So I was really excited for it.
What if they delayed it just to put in more gyroing stages? We'll get to that in a minute.
So, yeah, I mean, I was really looking forward to this game. I'm a huge Star Fox 64 fan. I believe, like...
Only fan bigger than you is Chris, and he actually likes Star Fox Zero.
My high score in Star Fox 64 was like 2,300 something, like a decade ago when I was like really, really got into it. I think like the world record's like 2,700, 2,800 or something like that.
Wow.
So, and I think 1,500 is usually like an average score. So I got pretty darn good at it, I feel like. And it's one of my favorite Nintendo 64 games of all time. I believe it's even in my top 50, if I recall correctly. I feel like it has to be in my top 50. If it's not, I screwed up. But yeah, Star Fox Zero came out. Reviews were just all over the place. I believe the average Metacritic score ended up being
It was like
72 out of 100.
it was like 70 something, yeah. But the range was just crazy. I've never seen a game go from like 4s to 9s.
Yeah, and like for example, Giant Bomb gave it a 2 out of 5, which people are just like, "What? That's ridiculous! Stupid Giant Bomb! What are they doing giving it a 2 out of 5?"
That's like a Game Informer type score.
Yeah.
What did Game Informer give that game anyway? I hate Game Informer.
I don't know, probably like a 6 or something. I'd have to look into it. So yeah, it was just reviews all over the place, and it just sort of landed in good territory, not great territory, which is what a lot of people wanted, and it was mostly because of the gyro controls. So, with that said, I'd like to talk about it. I'll talk about the good, I'll talk about the bad, and my overall.
Then we'll talk about the game in general, and basically its identification as a game.
Yeah. Well.
Oh, by the way, it ended up being a 69 on Metacritic, so
Ooh.
didn't even hit the 70 mark.
So with Star Fox Zero, it's a reimagining of Star Fox. Well, Star Fox SNES, because Star Fox 64 is a reimagining of that game. So it's the second reimagining of Star Fox that we've seen. And they changed some things with the story. The main characters are the same. You still have Star Fox or Team Star Fox. You still have Team Star Wolf. You still have the evil Andross in the background, and General Pepper. The good things about the game. The art direction, I feel like, just absolutely nailed it. The portraits for the characters look sweet.
You know, the people on IGN ripped the art direction for this game, and they said it looked kind of archaic, and I don't know, I felt like that was kind of the idea, and I still think it looks great. Like, just looking at it on an HD screen, I think it looks fantastic.
It does, I feel like. I mean, it's not like gonna completely blow you away with the effects that it has on show.
It's on the Wii U. I mean, come on.
Yeah, but I feel like it fits in line with the series. It's a series like Star Fox, where you're trying to shoot things on the screen, and sometimes things are going to be small. You don't want there to be too much detail, because then you're going to have a hard time seeing what you're trying to shoot.
Yes.
So I thought
the game is already hard enough
to.
It's already hard enough to shoot things. They don't need to make it any more difficult.
And then combine that with the fact that it's, I believe it's 1080p game. I didn't see like a lot of aliasing. The image quality is really good. The frame rate is really high. It's a targeted 60 frames per second, and it only drops down to like 40s, and that's not often. So it looks great. The sound design, also superb. Like with my sound system, and with like the 3D audio where the radio chatter comes through your gamepad, it was really, really fun to listen to, especially like the Star Fox 64 had really deep booming explosions, and those just feel great in Star Fox Zero. The characters have a little bit more dialogue to them, I feel like. A little bit more personality, and I loved that. I love it. The only thing I didn't like is they sort of reworded some of the classic lines from the Star Fox 64 game, and I didn't think they should have done that necessarily.
I imagine that do a barrel roll is there by default, and
barrel roll is there by default. Yeah. Yes, but that's pretty much it.
Use the boost to get through. Did they change that one?
Peppy also says use the brake, and I think somebody says use the boost at some point, but I think it was some of the banter between like Falco and Fox, or with Wolf and Fox. Like the one that I always think that easily comes to mind is Wolf says in this one, he says, "You're good, but not good enough." And I preferred his old line. I vastly preferred his old line of "You're good, but I'm better." It's just, I feel like the I'm better is just has a little bit more. It's a little more cocky.
And just for that, 2 out of 5.
No, not at all.
What were some of the like actual like? So you've mentioned a lot of like aesthetic type stuff.
Yeah.
With this
So
game.
so the aesthetic is great. As far as gameplay things that I really liked, the Landmaster feels better than ever. It feels like you're controlling a tank this time.
Landmaster.
Whereas with Star Fox 64, the Landmaster level was like a level that people didn't like. People sort of ripped on a lot when the game came out.
I don't like it that much now.
Yeah.
I feel like that it's kind of wonky in terms of controls, but then again,
It
you can't
is.
really be complaining about controls with this game.
Yeah. So yeah, Landmaster felt just awesome in this game for the most part. There weren't a lot of parts where I didn't like the Landmaster. I struggled a bit with the boss, or the first boss that I fought with the Landmaster, just because I wasn't fully used to the controls yet. But yeah, for the most part, it's a huge improvement. It feels really good. The level design and the variety to the levels is also really good. I mean, a lot of the reviews I said is just like, oh, it's just an average game that's here, even if you get past the controls. And I don't think that's the case. There's a huge amount of enemy variety in this game. It's probably better than Star Fox 64. Actually, it is better than Star Fox 64 in that terms. And just how it throws different scenarios at you. The boss battles it throws at you are very different compared to Star Fox 64. It's not just as simple as shoot the weak point. I mean, although there is a lot of that still. And it feels really good when the controls for the R-Wing, the Landmaster, and the Chicken Walker click. Like when it clicks and you're like, you just sort of get it and you're dodging things on the main screen and using the gamepad to shoot accurately. It feels really, really good. But, and now here's the other end of the game, and I think you'll love this part.
Hey, who doesn't love complaining, right?
So with the gyro controls, I'm gonna say it straight up: the controls are complicated, and they are not controls that you're going to be used to. You are going to have to train yourself in how to use these controls, and that's just one part of it. Another part is some people, you're not going to be able to get the hang of the controls. For some people, you will. For other people, you won't. For me personally, I already have like a hard time with Splatoon gyro controls. My brain doesn't work that way. I'm very sort of focused when I play something, and I'm very just focused in general on something. Like if somebody's talking to me and I'm trying to read something, I will completely ignore the person that I'm talking to.
It's funny because I'm reading reviews right now and I'm completely ignoring what you're saying.
See, exactly.
By the way, there's a review from Wired right here that I'm going through some stuff just to like kind of help accentuate your points. This little bit on Metacritic says, it sounds confusing. It is confusing. It's also not optional. This is how you play Star Fox Zero. It's the shooter equivalent of rubbing your stomach while patting your head and also keeping a hacky sack in the air with your foot.
That's exactly it. And like some people can do that, but for like someone like me, I struggled with it constantly. There were times where I did sort of click with it, but too often it was just too much for me to handle. And that brought it down for me a bit.
Here's something that drives me crazy, by the way. When reviewers say, oh, like, you know, the reviewers that like the game, they're like, you just need to spend some time with the controls and get used to them after a few hours.
So
that's fine, but not everybody can do that. Like, that's not a realistic thing. That's not a realistic expectation for the modern day gamer. Like, not everybody likes Dark Souls because they straight up just say, this game is hard. You know, This game might not be for everybody.
And so here's what I'll say about that. I think it's okay for them to try something different with the controls, but they're expecting you to just pick up these controls pretty much immediately because Star Fox, it's a short game, and it throws you into the action right away.
There's no training, right?
And there's like just such a marginal... There's like a quick tutorial when you first start up the game that's mandatory, and there's also like a training mode, but what I feel like would have done a much better job of actually training you with these new controls that you're going to have to train yourself to get accustomed to is to have like a fully fleshed training mode. I sort of think of like the VR Mission Simulator Solid type, or the Crazy Taxi driving challenges that were on like the Dreamcast version. Just so it could gradually add a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more, and give each challenge a bronze, silver, gold medal for like how quickly you complete it or how well you complete it. So that by the time you're done, if you like manage to get silver or better on all these challenges, you're going to be pretty competent at the game. And if you did all like gold medals on all the challenges, you're going to have a really good handle on the controls. That's not here in this game. The training modes, they are really, really basic. So yeah, I mean, you're either going to get the controls or you're not going to get the controls right away. And that's a problem, and that's bad game design, in my opinion, to not really help introduce everyone to the new controls. I didn't really like how I was constantly recalibrating the gyro controls. I know some people might not have an issue with that, but I mean, again, for me, I'm a very focused person, so I don't really have as much awareness as how often I need to recalibrate the gyro controls. Here's a big deal for me. They intentionally made the third-person view reticle for your target less accurate at distances in this game in order to get you to use the gyro controls. So they actively made something that was in place before with Star Fox 64 worse for this game.
That is so awful. I didn't even know that. That's, oh man.
Yeah, if anything gets far away from you, because it's, I mean, I guess like the idea is that the reticle in front of the ship, like it's the same as Star Fox 64. It's like two green boxes, and one's like a little bit further away from the other. And I think the idea is that it is like a couple boxes in 3D space, and so it'll shoot through that box at short distances, but as it gets further away, it's not going to be in the box anymore. But, I mean, really, when it gets down to it, they made it worse compared to Star Fox 64 for this game. And why would you do that? And pretty much it is to force you to use their gimmick. That's what
I'm shaking my head in real life right now. Like that's unbelievably poor game design.
And that is probably the most unforgivable thing about this game that I can think of. So there's that. And then there's something that I think totally goes against the whole game's aesthetic and style, and that is the gyro wing in this game. Because it's the gyro wing, actually, of all the things in the game, it probably is the easiest to control, but that's because it's so slow. And what that means is the levels for the gyro wing are slow, they're plotting, and it completely disrupts the fast-paced, action-oriented gameplay that the series is known for. All to justify using the gamepad. Like, they created a new vehicle to, I mean, other than the chicken walker, in order to really justify
I'm
the
telling
gamepad.
you that's why they delayed the game. They wanted to add more gyro wing stuff.
So yeah, like every level before the gyro ring, it took me like, I don't know, it takes like maybe 3 to 5 minutes to get to the boss, and then the boss might take another 3 to 5 minutes for you to beat. And then the gyro wing level probably took me like 20 to 30 minutes. It just was like, wait, what is going on here? This is taking way too long. And like every single time I replay the arcade mode, I intentionally try to avoid the gyro wing level so that I don't have to deal with it, because it's so bad. It's just so slow. Yeah, and it's against the spirit of the franchise. I think it is actually the lowest that it's the low point of the entire series is the gyro wing. Take that as you will. Lower than Star Fox Adventures, lower than the Star Fox Assault Foot missions, which had way more action than the Gyro Wing does. Um, and then only other bad thing I can think of is with the Chicken Walker, it doesn't strafe left and right when you use the um, left control stick unless you're locked onto something, and instead it like just turns left and right, turns the view left and right, and I don't know that. I mean, that just sort of goes against what every third person or even first person uh, game works like. I mean, modern game design has ingrained in your brain how that left stick should work, and the Chicken Walker completely goes against that grain. And so that's what I really mean, like when you really have to train yourself how these controls work. Like the Chicken Walker, that's something you got to train yourself. So, yeah.
So one thing I just wanted to say before we move on about this game is since obviously I haven't played it, I haven't had much to say while you go over all this stuff. But um, when the game first came out, and I started seeing the bad reviews, and my hype level was still kind of high. I was taking the approach that, well, of course you guys aren't going to like the controls. This was designed to show off the gamepad at a time when Nintendo really needed to sell that gamepad. This was E3 2014, and we were getting Splatoon and Smash Brothers and, all these other like wonderful projects from Nintendo. But they still hadn't really sold the gamepad. So they're like, well, here's our tech demo. Like Miyamoto was showing off the tech demo, and they're like, we'll have more for you next year when it's ready. And then they had this Star Fox thing. But by the time 2015 rolled around, Splatoon hadn't saved the Wii U, Mario Kart hadn't saved the Wii U, Smash Brothers didn't move the needle at all. So like this thing that they had, this machine they had, the Wii U, it wasn't really going to sell, like no matter what they did with the gamepad. But they were too far into development to like cancel the project. And so they just kind of had to put it out. And unfortunately, basically what was a demo for the gamepad ended up being a full-fledged game called Star Fox Zero. And it got bad reviews, and nobody wants to play it, including me. And that's just sort of the unfortunate situation of it all. Like, they didn't really have a choice. They kind of had to do this. And then by the time they realized maybe it's not the best idea to do these controls, because they were struggling with it. That's why it got delayed. They couldn't make it work, perfectly. By the time that they had to delay it, it was too late to cancel it, because they had already like put it out there that this was going to be their big thing for 2015 and then 2016. So they really just kept shooting themselves in the foot over and over again.
Yeah, it's what I'll say about the game is it is a great game, but it's really held back by the controls. If you, for whatever reason, are able to really get these controls to click, I think this is a game that you'll enjoy, especially if you enjoyed Star Fox 64. And there's not very many arcade type of games like this that exist anymore. So, yeah, there's a great game there. It's just whether you can get past the controls or not. And because for example, I'm playing the game and the controls haven't like fully clicked by now, and I'm like fighting these bosses, and these bosses, like these are actually really nice bosses, great boss design with like how you're gonna find ways to defeat them and everything. But you're trying to figure out how to beat a boss, and at the same time you might still be trying to figure out these controls. And so you just can't handle all of that at once. It's like, well, how do I handle these controls? Oh no, the boss is attacking this way. What do I do? And it's just like a complete exercise in frustration if you don't have the controls figured out yet. Going back, like when I played Andross the second time,
Whoa, spoilers.
Whatever. We all know Andross is the boss. I had a much easier time fighting Andross the second time, but the first time, I was just getting really, really angry and frustrated with the game, and I just wanted to give up. And I've defended this game as much as I could, and like when it comes down to it, I can't defend this game because what the majority of fans wanted, and they've been asking for it for years and years and years. I mean, ever since Star Fox 64 is we just want a new game like Star Fox 64 that refines the series, that adds some new features that work really well, and like are great additions to the series. Like the Chicken Walker is actually a pretty neat addition to the series in some ways.
I'd
But
just like to put it on the record right now that I really, really, really like Star Fox Adventures and Star Fox Assault. I think both are very good games, and I think the people that rip the on foot stuff, I think you are wrong. I think it's good.
it's good. It's just it's not what people want.
Well, screw
And
them. Do what's good, not what people want.
and like
Unfortunately, Star Fox Zero is neither good nor what anybody wanted.
this yeah, like all anyone wants is for Star Fox 64 just better, or to pick up on the story, to add new scenarios. They don't want it, but instead, yeah, Nintendo takes another franchise of theirs, and I don't know why they can't just do this with Mario. Why why do you always have to do it with a franchise that has like a smaller following?
Yeah, poor Chibi Robo and Star Fox. Like, what did they ever do to deserve this treatment from Nintendo?
And yeah,
Freaking
so
Chibi Robo Ziplash is like one of the worst games I've played ever.
they experiment with Star Fox. They experiment with, I mean, I guess Zelda. They experiment with Metroid, with Other M. And they're doing it just for the sake of being different. And I mean, it makes me angry and it saddens me because that insistence on just being different has very well possibly led to the death of the Star Fox franchise again, which is terrible because, like, as I said at the beginning, the aesthetic, I talked about the aesthetic of this game and how much I love the aesthetic. I love the character banter. I love the art style.
I
I
need to see sales numbers before I can say this franchise is dead, because I don't know. I feel like it's going to sell well. And any game
I
that,
hope it does. I hope people still buy this game, even though it's, I mean, for a lot of people, it's not going to be great. A lot of people are not going to like this game. And I mean, I don't know why Nintendo insists on doing this. I mean, there's a article on Kotaku that talks about the creation of Super Mario Brothers 3, and Miyamoto's first question when he like walked into a room to look at something related to the game was, "Is this fun?" And it's just like they needed to ask this question while they were making this game. They needed to ask, like, "Is this fun?" Because, and more importantly, is this fun right away? Is this fun within the first hour of playing? Because in a lot of cases, it's not. And the gyroing, it's not. It's just not fun. Um, and yeah, I don't know what else to say. It, like I said, it's a great game, but the controls, if they don't click with you, it's a bad game.
there's like normally this show is very angry and we're always yelling about crap that we hate. This is a very sad show. It feels like we're having a funeral. Like that's what it feels like right now. I don't know.
So with that said, yeah, I give great games a 4 out of 5. I give bad games a 2 out of 5. I give broken games a 1 out of 5. I give excellent games a 5 out of 5. Since this is in between, I give it a 3 out of 5. And it, like, again, that just makes me sad. I wanted so badly for this game to be a 4 out of 5, and I figured if the controls really clicked, that it had potential to be a 5 out of 5. It's not the case. As much as I want it to be,
Yeah, you were
and
like really struggling with this. You're like, this is really like the first hour. This is a great game, and then, like you kept getting farther and farther in, and you're like, I'm not getting it, and it's not that great. And I was just like, oh man, because like
I
I
kept
wanted it
telling
too.
myself, yeah, I kept telling myself, like, just play it a little more, play it a little more. The controls will click, you'll be fine. It's gonna be awesome. And there were parts of it that, yeah, there were great parts. Like, there's one level where you're just, it's like they cranked up the adrenaline to max, and it's awesome. And again, like the Landmaster level, totally a blast. But there's just so much of it that just, like I said, I couldn't get the controls, and I'm sorry, folks, but like that's me, and you have to consider into account that a lot of other people, it's going to be the same deal. They're not going to be able to get the controls, and it's just not going to be a good game for them. It's going to be a bad game for them.
All right, well let's move on. We got one other big topic to get to, and this one I think is going to incite some anger instead of some sadness.
I know. I got very controversial opinions.
Yeah.
So
well,
soon.
no, because you agree with the majority. I'm the one with the controversial opinion on this one. But the other day, and we're going to do a ministry recap on this. In fact, it's supposedly already up by the time you're listening to this. Nintendo, quote unquote, revealed their NX strategy for the coming fiscal year in their investors meeting, and it's an interesting one. We have thought for many, many months that the NX would be launching this year, and the longer we went without any sort of substantial news, the more I started to think we were not getting it in 2016. Turns out that is the case. We're getting it in March of 2017. That is official. They announced it in their press release from the conference, along with, and you love this, Zelda U is going to be released both simultaneously on the Wii U and the Nintendo NX.
Yep.
Which has caused quite a bit of anger in the community, I suppose. I don't really want to get into my opinion on this yet because, I think it's just such a non-issue at this point. We knew this was happening forever. Why does the official announcement make you angry?
We all thought the NX was coming out this year, right?
Yeah.
And we expected Zelda to be out this year because they already delayed it out of 2015. They haven't shown us anything on it. I mean,
we got a piece of artwork. Whoop-de frickin' do.
The news
it's just like Skyward Sword when they're like, oh, here's a sword. Oh, we're making a new Zelda game.
The news also pretty much said that hey, E3, all we're gonna have is Zelda.
So we're taking a multi-layered approach to this. Let's take it one thing at a time because I have a lot to say about that E3 thing, and I'm very confused about it.
So with the news that NX is coming out this or next year, it sort of makes sense to me. I feel like Nintendo is waiting on Sony, sort of, because I feel like the PlayStation 4K or the PlayStation 4 Neo, whatever you want to call it, is a direct response to the NX.
And all the rumors saying that it's going to be more powerful. I'm sure these companies, as much as Nintendo's trying to keep it under wraps, I'm sure they know something about what's going on with development internally.
And so I feel like it's a direct response to that, because if the PlayStation 4 is suddenly the weakest console on the market and there's no plan to move to the next generation soon, then they're going to be in a position where all the best running games are going to be on the NX rather than the PlayStation 4. And so I feel like that's the Neo is a direct response to that. So I feel like Nintendo is sort of playing their cards close to their chest, and they're going to wait and see what the PlayStation 4 is actually going to be able to do in terms of graphical output and so on and so forth.
And the reason I think they don't have a problem with waiting a little bit, just completely throwing away a holiday season, I think they don't have a problem with that because, the main reason is because if Sony's planning on releasing the PS4 Neo this year, then guess what? You've now, I'm assuming Microsoft's going to do the same thing with their upgraded console if they decide they want to do that. Then you've got 3 consoles releasing between October and November. And if you add the NX into that, it's a complete mess. And when I say 3 consoles, I'm referring to the Xbox One, the PS4, and the PS4 VR, which is a thing that's going to be $500. And people are going to buy it. It's going to be in video game retail stores. So why would you want to get into that and potentially run the risk of your console not having a completely disastrous launch that gets buried? Your Wii U was already a mess. It launched well. It sold 3 million units in the first couple months, but that's because everyone was expecting something. Nobody actually expects anything from Nintendo anymore. So they run the risk of getting their console buried if they release it in the same time as these other companies. So I think as a strategy, it's solid. I'm sad that I won't get to play it sooner, but it is what it is at this point.
My issue with Zelda being delayed to next year and a simultaneous release is maybe for consumers it makes sense and it works. I feel like for Nintendo financially, it does not actually help them. I feel like they could actually probably squeeze out a few more Wii U sales.
Are you
Actually,
saying that if they released it on Wii U and Wii U only during the holiday, they would
yes.
actually make money off the Wii U? They'd make money off the software. I don't think this is going to sell any Wii U's at
I
this point.
think it could push Wii U's. Well, I think it would definitely push Wii U's because people want it now.
No, people are going to feel like they're getting screwed. They're not going to buy this game.
Why wouldn't they?
Because if they're saving up to get this NX system in 4 months, they're not going to be spending $350 to get a new system and a new game at like just
It's
4
still
months
Zelda.
prior.
That's how I look at it.
No,
It's
if you
still
knew
Zelda.
yeah, all the Nintendo fans that like Zelda and care about Zelda already have the system. There's nobody waiting for Zelda at this point to buy a Wii U. And if you are, if you're
I
listening to this
disagree with
show
that.
and you are, I'm sorry that I offended you, but that's my opinion. I really think just about every hardcore Nintendo
Well,
fan.
okay, here, let's put it this way. What does the Wii U have to sell? You know that they're sitting on stock.
Oh, well,
They have to be sitting on stock. So here's what I'm saying. I'm saying to actually still push a little bit more units of the Wii U. Because
if they wanted to push
you
units
might
of the
say
Wii U, they would give it a price drop by this point, for God's sake.
you might say that, well, they don't want to give it a price drop because they're going to lose money on a price drop. They keep it the way it's at so that they can still at least turn a profit on the units. I'm saying they're still sitting on stock. You can still push units. It might not be a lot of units, but it's going to be more than nothing. If they don't release it. And if they release it this holiday, you're going to get holiday sales for Wii U's. You're going to get holiday sales for Zelda U. And then
so you would be willing to sacrifice the launch of a new console when Nintendo has now a pandemic type history.
You need to listen to me for
I
a
get
second.
very worked up about the launch of a new Nintendo system. Look at the last two.
And then
okay.
You pull the Rockstar move, and you say, "Hey, guess what? Everybody already knows NX is coming out, but after Zelda's released on the Wii U, and it has a little bit of downloadable content, you release the special Legendary Edition of The Legend of Zelda U, not remastered, just everything sort of cranked up to max with the visuals and whatnot. And it's coming out for the NX right away. So you get people to double dip because hardcore Nintendo fans will double dip because they want something new and they want it soon. Especially because we're starved right now.
Whose
Nintendo
side are
fans,
you on? Are you on the side of the consumer or are you on the side of the company?
I told you at the very beginning, like, this doesn't make sense for the consumer. The consumers won't want this.
Hold on.
But for Nintendo, it makes financial sense.
Do you actually want this? Do you want them to force us to double dip on this?
No, I don't.
Well, then I don't even understand why you're making this argument.
I said at the very beginning, for consumers, it doesn't make sense. And so consumers wouldn't want this. But for Nintendo, I feel like it makes financial sense to do the Rockstar thing with that Rockstar did with Grand Theft Auto 5, where they released it on 360 and PlayStation 3 one year, and then the very following year, they released it again on the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One with additional features, like the first-person view. And, I mean, come on. It didn't slow down Grand Theft Auto 5 sales. In fact, like, Grand Theft Auto 5 sold more after it came out again.
It's going to be the best-selling game of all time at this rate. Oh, by the way, I did not sell any copies of GTA 5 2 days ago at work. Although I did sell like 5 of them yesterday. So
yeah,
we have a running joke. Every day I work, I sell at least like 3 to 5 copies of Grand Theft Auto 5. And the other day I didn't sell any, and I was like shocked. It's the first time since I started working there. Anyway.
Yeah, and it's still in the top like 3 bestsellers every month.
Every month, it's insane. Like all these kids keep getting born and keep buying Grand Theft Auto 5, like immediately when they're born.
So yeah, I'm not saying it makes sense for consumers, and consumers would be like, "Oh man, I just bought it for the Wii U," and I feel like Nintendo would almost be able to sort of sell that it's still a Wii U exclusive if they really tried to.
I mean, would you have bought the game? Would you have bought Twilight Princess on GameCube if it had come out, 3 months before the Wii came out? Because I
Quite
don't.
possibly.
Okay, well here's a better question. If let's say so these games are being developed concurrently, together.
Well, we know
We
that
can
now.
we can assume.
I'm supposing that Nintendo never let that information out.
Well, no, but that's not my point. My point is being that let's say this NX version was not even like that much of a souped up version of the Wii U version of the game. Just like the Wii version was basically the GameCube version, but with the Wii controls. Let's say it's that situation. Would you even buy the NX version? Because if you buy the Wii U version and it's the same as the NX version, why in the world would you even buy an NX out of the gate if that's its only big launch title?
No.
That,
I
yeah,
if it's a marginal upgrade, no.
so
but
that's the situation. Nintendo's not doing a souped up version of Zelda on Wii U. They're doing the same version, just on NX. So that what
well,
that
it'll
signals
still
to me.
look better. It'll still run better, and I mean, I would do that. The
Well,
game,
but
like if you look at Zelda on GameCube versus Wii, because the Wii's power increase was almost nothing. It was essentially a GameCube. Um, it looked like identical. The only difference was the Wii version was widescreen. So, yeah, I don't know.
I I don't know. Yeah, it's I don't feel like Nintendo wanted to sabotage their launch of a new console knowing what happened. I mean, Iwata said it himself when the 3DS came out. They're like, we're not going to make this mistake again with the Wii U. And guess what they did? They made the exact same mistake with the Wii U. They had no software. I don't think Nintendo wants to do the same thing and sabotage the launch of a new console by making a game Wii U exclusive, even if it's a timed exclusive. Because we saw what that did. Look at Microsoft.
Well, I just feel like there are so few people that actually have the Wii U that it wouldn't really turn gamers away, but they would still like turn a profit off of releasing it on both systems.
By the
But
way, that reminds me, regarding the not that many people have the Wii U, it doesn't seem like this console is going to be backwards compatible, does it? Why would they release two versions of the game if it wasn't going to be?
I don't think it will be.
That's I don't know what to think of that. I'm not that upset because I always keep my consoles anyway. But as far as Nintendo goes, that's a lot of sales you're leaving on the table for this Wii U software that was really good, but not that many people bought. Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, attach rates for Wii games or Wii U games are really high. So.
Yeah. Well, let's get back to the E3 thing because I
Well,
wanted to. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead and make your last
one
point.
thing that I will say with sort of releasing it simultaneously is I think for the most part people are just going to buy it on the NX.
Well, I mean,
the
I
Wii
am.
U sales are not going to be very high at all because most of the really hardcore Nintendo fans bought Wii U's, and of course they're going to buy the NX because they're hardcore Nintendo fans. And in this case, by putting it on the NX, as well as the Wii U at the same time, it adds to the NX launch lineup. And I just want to throw out that the development teams for Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, for Super Mario 3D World, for Mario Kart, that's just a handful of teams. The Animal Crossing team, throw that in there.
I think Animal Crossing is still coming out on Wii U.
The Pikmin team, they have not released anything for since 2013, right?
All of those teams, yep.
So that is almost 4 years, 3.5, 4 years or more that they have not released games. So that's how many games we are potentially looking at being launch or launch window games for the NX. And that's a big lineup.
Think about that lineup, right? I just joined VG Charts last night because I have no life. And I posted in one of these threads predicting the lineup. And what I said, you launch maybe Pikmin 4, Zelda U. I said the definitive edition of Smash Brothers, the Wii U and 3DS port combined. The 3D Mario. You probably have that big Metroid game, hopefully coming that year. I said the Luigi's Mansion 3 is that rumor. I hope that's true. And then Mario Kart 9. Man, that's a lineup.
It's a hefty lineup.
Yeah. NX is going to be. I think
I'd really
NX
like
is
to
going to be
see
good.
a definitive edition of Smash Brothers at $60 and includes all the
I
downloadable
would
characters.
absolutely buy that because at this point I've got like so much DLC and I just give me the disc with everything on it. I'm very confused at this point about where all my DLC is because I lost a lot of my stuff because my hard drive crashed. So I don't have any of that stuff anymore. And I want it all back, and I want the Wii U and the 3DS stages together in one package.
Yeah.
But I wanted to talk about E3, and we keep getting dragged back into the other thing. So they did say that they are going to be showing Zelda, and it's going to be playable at this year's E3. Freaking finally, on Wii U, it's going to be playable because they are not bringing NX to the show this year. And I have a big, big question for you, Nintendo. Why? What other time of the year are you going to have all eyeballs of the gaming industry directly on you? Like, you can hold your own Space World, whatever. That's not as big of an event as E3. It's frickin' E3. You have to show your new console. This is, like, just completely mind-boggling to me. You have 10 months before the launch of your new console, and you're not going to show it. Are you going to wait for Tokyo Game Show? Because not that many non-hardcore gamers care about that, but everybody knows about E3. I have people walk into my store that maybe come in once or twice a year to buy like 2 or 3 games. They're like, "Hey man, what's going on at E3 this year? Like, what are the newest rumors?" And I tell them Red Dead Redemption 2 is coming out, and they get all excited. And they're like, "I'm definitely going to watch it this year." Non-hardcore gamers get really, really excited about E3. It's Christmas for games, and you're not going to show your new console. I don't understand that.
And actually, it's odd because this actually sort of ties directly into why I feel like Zelda U should be coming out this holiday season rather than at the same time as the NX. Because what is the one thing that they're going to show at E3?
Zelda?
They pretty much said like it's only going to be Zelda.
Well, no, to be clear, they said the only game that's going to be playable is Zelda, and
yeah.
I don't really know what that means. Does it mean that they only have one game coming out? Like, they're not making any games for 7 months? I don't think that's the case. They can't.
Well, they just don't. They really don't want anybody to play whatever color.
They don't want
Splash,
anybody. Yeah, they don't want
Paper
anyone
Mario.
to play Paper Mario because it's so bad that it's just like, oh man.
They're just like, there's no way we're making this playable. It's just gonna release, and you're gonna have it. They're not even gonna send out review copies.
So even though they don't have the console and they're not gonna show the console, does that mean they're not showing any games? Because not showing any NX games, I feel like, would be a big mistake, even if you're not gonna show the console.
Yeah,
you have to show some games, right? At least
like
one or two.
To. But they've said that they're not going to show that. I mean, they've said they're not going to show the NX.
I need to look at the quote again because I think it says they're not going to show the NX, not that they're not going to show any NX games.
Yeah. And
maybe
I feel like that's why
show...
they might be holding off on revealing the NX to sort of buy their time and see what
maybe they'll pull
Sony's
a Wii U and they'll pull out the gamepad or they'll pull out the controller for the NX, but not the actual system.
That's possible.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. It's gonna be. I feel like it's gonna be a really weird E3 if all they really have is Zelda to show.
I mean, they're gonna be completely steamrolled by Sony, who's set up to have a huge E3.
Yep.
Right. I mean, Microsoft doesn't have anything, but I mean, is Sony going to be the default winner this year? Because I can't see any reason why they wouldn't be if Nintendo's only going to show Zelda. Which, of course, in my heart, Zelda's a winner every time.
Yeah,
I'm super excited to see Zelda. If they're gonna put this huge focus on it, I can't wait. I really want to see what this game has become. But at the same time, I'd also like to see some other games, Nintendo.
Just sort of think for a second that, I mean, considering that Star Fox, if it's really under 70 on Metacritic, it's an average game, if even. We're going over a year without a great or like a really, really good Nintendo game until the NX.
Is that Tokyo Mirage Sessions? That's not developed by Nintendo. It's published by Atlas. Or it's being what is that?
Atlas.
I don't know. It was like one of those second party things.
Yeah.
So there's no way we're waiting a year. I don't.
You really think that's
Well, and I said earlier, Nintendo's doing another piece of news that came out of the conference was they were doing 2 more mobile apps based on Fire Emblem and Animal Crossing. And I said, I think that Animal Crossing is still coming out on Wii U because I think this app is going to be a companion app. They mentioned that they want you to play the app and play the game on like on the dedicated gaming systems, but nobody's still playing Animal Crossing New Leaf, I don't think. I mean, it's a great game and everything, but like people have mostly fallen away from it. I don't think the app would re-energize it. I think there's still an Animal Crossing game coming out this year on Wii U. They've had the assets forever. They made that Amiibo Festival quote unquote game, and they did the Animal Crossing channel. So it's not like they can't do Animal Crossing on Wii U. And I think that would be an appropriate send off for the system. Kind of a soft core game that Nintendo fans will really love, and it will keep them busy for all fall. That's for darn sure. So
I hope you're right.
I
but
think
I don't
that is
understand why Nintendo would really release anything on the Wii U at this point. It's like
well,
there's
they
no
can't just
point.
they can't let it sit there for the holiday and just not have anything. That doesn't make, especially knowing there's a new console coming. Like they have to make money on something. It's not just going to be Pokemon in the 3DS. They need to do more than that.
Can't they just start releasing all 151 original Pokemon as amiibos?
The amiibo craze, I think I'm ready to declare it officially over. I don't think people are like incredibly hyped about these things anymore. The Kirby series went up for pre-order at my store, and we don't have any yet. Not a single Kirby amiibo has been pre-ordered. By the way, that Kirby game on 3DS looks really good. I'm gonna get it for sure.
Kirby games are generally really good, but
yeah. So what we're talking about? We got like way off topic again.
Just an NX E3.
We're running out of steam. I'm getting tired.
Honestly, I feel like I don't even know what to really say. I don't know what to make of this.
I knew we should have prepped more.
I don't know what to really make of Nintendo's strategy here.
So
I don't know what to anticipate. I don't know if, I feel like there's going to be nothing on the Wii U until Zelda.
Let's wrap it up like this.
They're just sort of going to let it die. But
what do you think of their decision to release it in March 2017? Like, do you think it's a good decision overall, both for them and for the consumer, or do you think they shouldn't wait as long as they are and let their product just die on the shelves? Because Wii U's not going to sell this holiday without games to push it. And if you personally think that they're not going to release any games, then why wouldn't they release it this holiday? The
I
new
think
system?
If it's really coming out next year in March, that they better have a steady stream of first-party titles pretty much monthly through Christmas. That's how I feel about this. If they're really I don't see that as a good decision unless that's what's going to happen. Because I feel like if you could release it this year and put Zelda on it and put just like a couple more games on it and like ports of last gen games. We talked about that a lot. It's just like give it some ports of Smash or Splatoon or Mario Maker just to sort of flesh it out and get people who held off on the Wii U to buy in with just one really, really great NX exclusive. But I feel like if you're going to delay it till next year, you need to have NX exclusive games every month. You need a constant stream.
It does kind of beg the question, like, what's going to happen with all these other games that have been tied to Nintendo, like third-party games, like Final Fantasy 15, like what else? I don't know. There's been Dragon Quest.
You said Call of Duty was coming to it, and
Dragon
now
Quest
that it's
10.
coming out in March, I just feel like, why would Call of Duty come out in March? Like, that's already 4 or 5 months removed from holiday sales.
Yeah, so it's interesting it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the third-party support. Is it going to be there? Because it better be. If Nintendo doesn't have third-party support, they're immediately dead upon arrival, which is unfortunate, but it's true. And I think it's something that hopefully they've learned over time with the Wii U and the 3DS. they can't do it all themselves. Not anymore. Not in this current modern gaming environment where Fallout 4 is Sony and Microsoft's big fall release. They don't even have IPs anymore. They just rely on their third parties.
Yeah, with Sony especially.
Yeah,
You know what?
especially you, Sony.
I feel like this is really a great opportunity for Nintendo to get back into this, because the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360, that was a game that Nintendo just had no chance in, because those systems were selling at such a massive loss. I mean, the PlayStation brand was losing billions for like the first 3-4 years of the PlayStation 3's life, and the Xbox 360 was losing money too until
It's
later in
ironic
its life.
because so far, like, the gaming division is the only thing that's keeping Sony's doors open anymore.
Well, that's what I'm getting to, is with this generation, with the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, Sony and Microsoft, it's almost like they just agreed, you know what, we can't continue, we can't sustain this, especially Sony, because it's not like their other businesses are doing very well. And they actually reported finally like over $1 billion of profit for the last fiscal year. So they've completely changed their approach. The PlayStation 4 is an underpowered system, and it is cheaper for them to produce, so they can actually make a profit and not lose a ton of money. And so, since that's always been Nintendo's strategy, I feel like this is their best chance to get back in there, release a console that's equivalently powered, and actually has first-party titles, since Sony has cut back on first-party production, and Microsoft just has never really had much besides Halo and Gears of War. So that's how I sort of view this upcoming mid-generational leap.
Well, it's going to be interesting to watch, and of course, we here at the ZB Network will keep you updated as it goes. We'll do Effortless every week. We'll complain about Nintendo and their decisions and everything else, hopefully.
Yep.
Oh, man, that was exhausting. I don't think I've ever complained about Nintendo so much for like half an hour.
I feel bad.
A lot of people were like really disappointed, and I'm not disappointed. I'm just confused by their decision. Like, I really wanted NX this year. I don't really need NX this year. I just want them to put out a product that I'm gonna enjoy, and whenever that's ready, whatever. I'm patient. I can wait 4 extra months.
The most controversial thing that I've really said regarding the whole NX Zelda thing is I actually said they should just flat out cancel, or they should have just flat out canceled Zelda for Wii U development and just shifted it all to NX, so that they could actually finally have something that sets the bar.
Yeah, people didn't like that. People didn't like that when you said that.
Yeah, both like graphically and with gameplay, and
because
really utilizes the additional horsepower that the NX will presumably have, to actually get people to buy in, get the hardcore gamers.
You realize, of course,
whatever.
if they did that, then we're talking about a 2018 launch for Zelda U, a game that was revealed in 2014.
I realize that's very possible, but it would at least be something that they could show at, maybe not this year's E3, but maybe a little bit later this year.
Oh, they would have had to have shown it
around
at
the
E3.
time that they're gonna actually sell the NX. They could actually like do a full blowout of media on it and be like, hey, you know what? This is coming next year on the NX, and boom, we just threw it down. This is what Zelda's gonna look like. This is what it's gonna play like. You wanted modern, you got it. Rather than, and I've sort of said this, like the last several Zeldas have been decidedly last generation in terms of what they offered, with Skyward Sword coming out at the end of the Wii's life cycle, Twilight Princess being
a GameCube
port with Waggle tacked on the Wii. So it's just been a really long time since Nintendo has had a Zelda that really
and Wind Waker being
a
game and being a game that nobody really wanted to look at when it first came out.
Yeah, it's been a long time since they've had a Zelda, since Ocarina of Time, that really set the bar and just made people go, wow, I need to have this. So that's why I sort of argued that, and people didn't like that. They were just like, that's dumb. They're gonna have to push back development. It's gonna come out too late to really move Wii or NX units.
I think that's a really captivating argument, though. What you say about how they need to like set the standard for what that type of game can be. That's really. I've never really thought about it that way until you really presented that argument that it really has been like 16 years since they've had a cutting edge Zelda.
And the thing is I feel
Majora's
like
Mask didn't sell N64s.
The reason I'm really pushing that they should have done this with Zelda is because it's the only franchise they really have, other than maybe Metroid, but Nintendo just, I don't know what they do with Metroid.
They don't give a rip about Metroid.
It's the only franchise they really have that has the ability to blow people away with what it can do. Because Mario, just the style of Mario, it doesn't have that ability to blow people away.
Yeah, like Mario Kart 8 is a gorgeous game, probably still one of the best looking games on Wii U, but when you look at it, you're not like blown away, like, I can't believe how good those graphics are.
Yeah, and people love Mario Kart, and people buy Mario Kart.
Yeah.
But
that's not the point.
It's not quite the same kind of system seller to that hardcore crowd that is gonna bring in third-party support and all that.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean by, or that's why I think it would have been maybe a good idea to just shift development entirely to the NX. And yeah, it's probably a little bit too late for that now. But if they had started doing that maybe a year ago, I think it could have paid some good dividends.
I think Iwata thought that they could save the Wii U up until like the very, not to be inappropriate, but until the very end. I think he thought that they could save the Wii U with its software, and as such, they did. Like, he was very, no, you're not canceling development for this game, and we're not doing our new console yet. He was very stubborn on mobile games for a long time too.
Yeah.
So anyway,
to be fair, the Wii U in Japan has been doing actually very well.
Well, until recently, yeah.
I mean, due to games like Splatoon and Mario Maker coming out, but in Western audiences,
no, not so much.
No.
All right, let's wrap this up.
Yep. So if you have any comments about anything we've talked about today, whether it's the NX, how you feel about Nintendo pushing things back, what you think of Star Fox Zero if you've played it, if you disagree with me or not, yeah, go ahead, reach out to us in the comments.
Just say something. Jeez.
Yeah, and hopefully our clickbait title this week gets a few more listeners, because I think a lot of people are going to be Googling Star Fox Zero sucks.
Do people actually
Dr.
Google
Spiegel.
just like anything? Yeah.
You know what? This is how I feel about the game, so I'm going to Google it just so I can have my opinions validated. So, for
Wow.
Dr. Spiegel, I'm Mr. Piddle. Reach out to us in the comments. Reach out to Spiegel on Twitter.
Thank you, everybody, for listening.
And yeah, thanks for listening. See you next week.
True.